Okay, so you've decided to dispense with all parities, forget about the reduction, forget about the layer by layer. Let's go ahead and do this with the parity free, which means doing that funky AI solve toward the end. So let's go ahead and scramble this up. I'm going to go ahead and do just that, and well, I'll show you the motion here a little bit. If you've seen the other tutorials, you've probably seen the motion, so I'll just scramble this and come back at you. Abracadabra. Okay, so layer, well, not layer by layer, parity free. So to do parity free, first we fill in the bottom layer with all the 2 by 2 by 2 portions of it. The easiest way to do that is to start off layer by layer, and I'm going to start off with the largest center here because it's easiest for me to spot. Now, I purposely don't memorize the center configuration just because it's more fun to figure it out. Now what you notice in this is that if this is the first that you've seen, you didn't see the other ones, see how there's kind of more of a shine on this and less of a shine on this? That's because the grains are facing in different directions. This one is facing horizontally rather. This one is facing vertically. So because of that, every center does have a particular place that it goes. So it is a lot like a mirror cube in that regard. So when you buy this puzzle, buy it with this sticker configuration, not the black one, because here it acts as a supercube, which gives it that much more of a challenge. And now the dreaded AI part. So with this AI part, now I didn't mean to solve these in conjunction with each other. I just wanted to put in the 2 by 2 by 2 blocks. So the first part is pretty easy. What I'm going to do is start matching up 1 by 1 by 2, and then 1 by 2 by 2, and then 2 by 2 by 2 blocks. This is already lined up, so I'm going to start with this. So what I want to do is I want to create the edge center pair that goes with this guy. And this is where the challenge is going to be. So I can see this matches up to here. So I lost sight of what I was doing, which is not hard to do. Now I'll tell you, this is the first time I've done the solve like this. So 1, 2, okay, so I'm looking for the biggest center, which is probably this guy here. R-I, D-I, R, D, R-I, D-I, R, D. But I can't destroy this. R-I, D-I, R, D. Okay. Bang. So that's what I want, and that's what I'm going to get. R-I, D-I. I'm always looking for a way of enhancing an AI challenge. It's already a hard enough solve as is, but why not make it even more challenging? This is definitely a perspective bender, the way a mirror cube is supposed to be. So now I move this into here. Well, actually, I turned this upside down, so I'm going to have to move this back in. D. Usually this first square is the easiest, but with something like this, there's that much more challenge. Okay, so this is it over here. This is my 1 by 2 by 2 bar, and I'm going to move this top side. And again, D. Thank goodness this moves smoothly. If it was too snaggy, this would be very frustrating. Okay, so I know this center belongs in there. I'm going to move this out of the way. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the proper edge that goes here and then binds to the center here. So I got to find that edge, hoping that it's down here. That's not it, and that's not it. So let's decide which edge would more likely be here. This is a corner. What about this edge? Looks a little oblong to me. Looks a little long. Maybe this one over here. Let's move this one down. I, D. So again, this is not a tutorial. This is more of a demonstration of my pain. Okay, so this is the correct one, right over here. Nope, it's not the correct one. But it's kind of like it, so at least I know the basic structure of it. Let's try one of these guys. R-I-D-I-R-D, R-I-D-I-R-D. Let's whip this around, and that looks good. Actually, Got lucky, didn't I? Because this is a 2 by 2 by 2. I put this in, this matches here, and this happens to be by proper center configuration, except not exactly. Because look over here, this is more dark than this. I don't know if I went over this, but basically the way these stickers are, and I do recommend getting it in the sticker configuration with the silver, these lines run horizontally. This here runs vertically, so this is the wrong center. So what I have to do is move this away from here, and I don't have equivalencies of center here. So this is going to be more complicated AI solve, but we're going to have to move this so that this is up. All right, D, I, R, D, R, D. What I'm looking for now is a very similar center to this, but not this. I got a sneaking suspicion maybe it's this guy, R-I-D-I-R-D, and we just move it. Nothing here, nothing here. Let's go ahead and move this to the other side. R-I-D-I-R-D. And bang, we like it. See, the shine is the same, so now we can move this down. This lack of equivalency is going to serve a problem for the solve of this puzzle. But remember, it's not an AI solve, it's a parity-free solve. So I can abandon the AI when I want to. So now this looks good. This 2 by 2 by 2 block, you can see the shine is the same on all sides. So we are good. So now let's start assembling another one. We already have this pair in over here. So I need to find the edge that belongs with this. Not this one. I got to be careful and mindful not to destroy that. It's going to be a small edge, so hopefully it shouldn't be too hard to find. It might even be this guy or one of these. Let's move this around. R, D, not any of these yet. Okay, I move this into here and still nothing. How about this? This is a good contender. D-I-R-D. Okay. 1, 2. Nope. Let's do one more. R-I-D-I-R-D. I don't think so. All right. I got a sneaking suspicion it's actually this guy here. So I got to separate these two from this edge here. R-I-D-I-R-D, R-I-D-I-R-D. What I'm going to do is move this here, and now turn this around. Oh, got to be careful. I almost destroyed that, so now we turn it around from here. That was just for practice. D, R, I, D, I, R, D. Okay. Now I noticed something. This lines up here. So we actually found a right edge over here. See? So that's good. So now what I need to do is I need to find the center over here in order to make my 1 by 2 by 2 bar. So this center here. So I need to make sure that I'm putting this up in the right direction. R-I-D-I-R-D, R-I-D-I-R-D. This is okay, but I need this one to be up. R-I-D-I-R-D. Okay. Can we find the center? Move this in here. Nope. Move this over here, and yes. Got lucky. And the shine is the same too. R-I-D-I-R-D, R-I-D-I-R-D. So it takes a good amount of concentration. So we'll move this in. I got my 1 by 2 by 2 bar. Move this up. D-I-R-D. And bear in mind I'm moving it away from this center, which actually belongs there. Just have to bear that in mind. Now, I just got real lucky, because this edge latched to this center. It's just not the right way. So this has to come down here. Well, let's see. Okay, strike all that. So this is here. This is the edge that it belongs to. And now I have to find the right centers. Move this out of the way and just move this up. And I can move this up in any direction. Ri, di. Now I'm eyeballing the particular one so I don't lose track, because I don't have colors to guide me. Okay, so it's this one. I'll move this back. Okay, so what center goes with this? Do we have it? Nope, not here. Let's see, if I were a betting man, I would say that it's something that's more, I'd say it's maybe even this guy. So I'm going to move this out of the way and swing this one around. R-I, D-I, R-D, R-I, D-I, R-D. Will this fall into place for me? And yes and no. Right center, wrong shade. This is the correct center over here. That's what I have to match it up with. But I got to pull it away from this. So I'm going to move it 1, 2 to move this to here. R-I, D-I, R-D, R-I, D-I, R-D. Move it twice. 1, 2. Now, what did I just do? Well, I moved this back, move this into here. This is matched up now, so now I'm going to move this down. R-I, D-I, R-D. This remains the toughest AI solve I've done. Okay, move this back. So now I need to find the right center for this. Nope. So it's a center that comes out a little bit more, but not as much as this. It's this guy. It's this guy right here. So what I'm going to have to do is go 1, 2, move this to here. R-I, D-I, R-D, R-I, D-I, R-D. 1, 2, 1, 2. Do it again. D-I, R-D, R-I, D-I, R-D. 1, 2. Okay. So it's not this because the shine is different. Oh. Okay. So here's my question. Which one was it? I have to re-look at what the proper edge was. I lost track because too many look alike. Move this in, so yeah, it's this guy. So I've got to move this one up. Got to remember that. So like I say, not a tutorial, just a demonstration of complications of this. R, D, and I am staring at the one I want. Okay. Alright, so this one, which one is it? Now, so this, nope. Maybe it's this guy? Well, let's see. I move this into here. This isn't quite big enough, and this one is bigger, so it's certainly possible. R-I, D-I, R-D, R-I, D-I, R-D. This has a pretty nice home over here. I don't think I want to be a homewrecker there. R-I, D-I, R-D. Okay, put it in, and yeah. Strike up the band, it worked. R-D. Again, I'll point out this is the first time I've done the solve like this. So I'm still working out the kinks myself. So this one is in. And let me just make sure that this matches. So yeah, this matches here just fine. Now the way that I do that, in order to match this to here without destroying this, is I'm going to take this and move it next to here. So I'm just going to do 2R U, 2R UI, 2R, turn the puzzle, 2R UI, 2R U, 2R. And the way that I do this to move this into here, to swap these two without causing this to go awry, is I move it in, then I move it once more. Now I do a corner swap, which will move this to here, so that I can just turn it in. 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R, turn the puzzle, 2R, UI, 2R, U, 2R, and turn it in. So as you can see, I've got this 2x2 block and this 2x2 block. Now, how well am I going to be able to coordinate the AI solve with this puzzle, which has obviously been giving me some trouble? Well, first thing to do is I'm just going to get aside. These two are already in. So what other corners match up with that? Maybe it's this one. So let's turn this around. RI, DI, R, D. I honestly don't know how this is going to work. So we'll see. Move this in, and it's not this. However, I did put these two in. I put these two together. So right now I'm just being an opportunist. RI, DI, R, D. I'll file this under the possibly too good to be true D. Move this in, and yeah, so I've got myself my 1 by 2 by 2 bar. R, D, and careful to move this back so I don't destroy these 2 by 2 bars. Okay, so now that I have that, before I do anything else, I think I want to start making sure that this goes into a proper corner for itself too. So I'm going to turn this around. Alright, DI, R, D. Okay. Move this here, and this does find a home here. So I'm going to keep that there, and I'm going to move it back. Just matching up corners as much as I can for the possible nightmare to come. Because winter is coming, and all that comes with it. Okay, so I've got my 1 by 2 by 2 bar. I've got these two matched together. This actually is matched with this over here, so I've got this with all of my corners. I think maybe, if I'm lucky, I'll move this up here. Okay, if I move this to here and swing this around, well, let me think. I'm thinking this goes here, so I'm going to separate this from here. RI, DI, R, D. I got to be honest with you, I'm doing a slightly different strategy than my usual AI solve. I'm being an opportunist with this. Okay, I'm going to move this over to here, then whip this around and see if it matches with these two here. RI, DI. I know I'm eventually going to have to do a unique AI strategy. And bang. Okay. So these corners are all together. And I don't think that's exactly what I was looking for. It's interesting, this matches up to here. And to here. Okay, so where shall I go with this? I think I was trying to do too much at once. So this guy belongs with, I think this guy belongs here. So I want to start matching this up to centers. RI, DI, R, D, RI, DI, R, D. This matches up to here. So I'm thinking I'm going to move this over to here to match it up with this center. RI, DI, RI. Okay, believe it or not, I'm actually having great fun doing this. R, D, RI, DI, R, D. Move this here, and this does match up with this. So we're well on the way of putting this one. Well, nope, it doesn't match up with that. What's interesting is this matches here, but this doesn't. I guess that's not that interesting. Okay, need to collect my bearings again. DI, R, got to be sure of something. Okay, I think it's this one that matches with this. Move this over here, and this likes this center over here. R-I-D-I-R-D, R-I-D-I-R-D. Okay, I'm going to move this up top to match it with the other center. And bring it in. Okay, so this whole thing is in. So I could solve the third block, but is that really going to do me any good at this point? Except bragging rights for solving the third block. But it will give me a perspective on things. So I can move this in here, and you can see that this whole block will be solved if I do that. Well, let's go ahead and get this third block in. 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. Can't make things too complicated. And in it goes. Okay, so here's what we have. This block is in, and it's everything is lined up right. This is in and this is in. This block is all messed up. This corner is messed up. So if this were any other AI, it would be pretty easy to decide what to do. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, move this over here, and I'm going to match this up to this corner here. R-I-D-I-R-D, rather edge, not corner. D, and again, D. Okay, boom. So this is matched up over here, but in so doing, I have to bear in mind that this belonged over here, and I kind of destroyed that, but I really had no choice. So now with this here, I'm going to go ahead and move this down. I'm going to move this up rather. R-I-D-I-R-D, R-I-D-I-R-D. So here's what my thinking is. This is up over here. If I match this to here, I have not matched these two because they're facing the wrong way. So this actually matches with this. So I'm going to move this to here, and I got to move this guy away from here so that I can match them up. Well, let's see. Yeah, okay. R-I-D-I-R-D, R-I-D-I-R-D, and move this back. Well, yep, okay. Let's get this out of the way. It's hard for me to describe exactly why I'm doing this, and like I say, it's not a tutorial, it's just a demonstration. But I'm just reorganizing things, and I don't want to destroy these combinations. Now I've got to take this guy and move him away from here, because this doesn't match with this center, because the shine is all wrong. But I'm going to move this here, and I'm going to move this around. R-I-D-I-R-D, R-I-D-I-R-D. Move this back over here. Okay, let's take a look at what we've got. We may think that we have this, but we don't really, because this is the wrong center. This is the wrong center here as well, so I think these two just need to be swapped. But that's okay for now. Here's my thinking. I'm not going to do a full AI solve because I don't have to. I just wanted to go parity free. So I have a block that's here, and I can move these by exchanging centers. So the way I do this with an AI solve is I'm going to go ahead and solve this as a 2x2 right now, keeping these centers wrong, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 centers that are wrong that I'm going to easily place. So let's go ahead and solve this as a 2x2. This goes here. Even a 2x2 solve is difficult to see. Okay, so we're good over here, I think. Yeah, so this bottom is in. This is just like a 2x2 mirror cube, bump cube. This doesn't fit anywhere, so these have to be turned around. R, U, R, I, U, R, 2U, R, I. Why did I do that? I did that to flip some things upside down. All right, so this belongs here. This doesn't belong here. So I think we have to do more flipping. Yep. R, U, R, I, U, R, 2, U, R, I. The sooner you put this into position, I knew that that was going to flip everything in the right direction. These two corners need to be swapped. 2R, U, 2R, UI, 2R. Turn here. 2R, UI, 2R, U, 2R. Now, we're almost done. We've eliminated any parity. Let's take a look at our centers. We see a number of centers that aren't where they're supposed to be, namely these. Not just these two. It's interesting there. But also these two are wrong as well. So what I want to do is I want to actually slide this over. I want to slide this over, and I'm going to use this to do it. So I'm going to move this over here. Well, okay. Move this over here. This will come here, and this will slide over here. Turn, turn, turn. This is the last two centers of a supercube. Okay, so this is correct. Now I'm just going to move this back. Now what belongs where? This guy belongs here. The way that I'm going to do that, let's see how I'm going to do that. Let's see what we can do here. This belongs not up here. This belongs up here. Okay, what I'm going to do, the problem is, here's a problem that I'm having. These are on the same centers here. The same 2x2 squares. So what I can do to move this in is I can move this to here. This will move here and this will move here. That's not exactly what I want. This will put this one in. But I may have to do some setups in order to get things where I want it to be. So what if I go like this? Then I go like this. Just have to remember what I'm doing. Actually, that's not going to work. What if I go like this? Pull this up to here. Okay. In principle, I like the idea, but I have to take this. So if I move this to here, this will come here, and this will come here. And that's what I want to do. I want to move this guy to here. Okay, I can do that if I can take this and move this to here. Just position it in that way. So, bear with me. I'm going to move this down. Ooh, that's going to get complicated. I'm going to do an R. I'm going to do an F. I'm going to slide this in. Move this back. Let's see if I can remember what I did. Not likely. But move this up, here, 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 and here. Now, am I going to remember what I did? That looks good. That looks okay. That looks good. That looks fine. Aha! There. And done. So, got a little complicated at the end. I have to look and make sure that all of the centers are fine. All of the centers are good. So there it is. Parity-free solve. Now, in the previous solves that I did end up with what appeared to be what I called a super parity. So if you want to see the solutions to the super parity, then you can. I can show you where that is. But because this was a parity-free solve, I expended a lot of energy and effort to do that. There is no parity and there is no super parity. But there you have it. First time a parity-free solve of a 4x4 mirror cube. Thanks for watching.